Good evening, everybody. Tonight is Tuesday, January 28th, 2025. This is a meeting of the Town of Rockland Board of Sewer Commissioners. The time is now 5:34. I am going to call the Commissioners meeting to order. We have two of our three commissioners here, Mr. Ryan and myself. I just want to announce for the record that the meeting is being recorded for playback on WRPS. And that takes us into our agenda items. The first item on our agenda is to approve the proposed meeting minutes from the Sewer Commissioner, from the Board of Sewer Commissioner meeting on December 10th, 2024.
Make a motion to approve the minutes?
There's a motion to approve. I will step down in a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That's a vote. Moving on. Item 3 on the agenda is the status of the permanent sewer superintendent job posting and description and hiring process. And we are very fortunate tonight to have the town's Human Resources Director, Laurie. How do you say your last name, Laurie? I'm sorry.
It's Turinchak.
Turinchak.
Yes.
Okay, Turinchak. Okay.
Exactly.
Laurie Turinchak with us. We do have in our packet draft a draft position posting, a job posting, and a job description. Laurie, I'll turn it over to you.
Sure. I actually brought over some revisions
Okay.
that I was working on before
Yep.
I jumped on over here. So I don't
Okay.
know if you want to grab a copy. And,
Is
I emailed them as well. So
this one for one
yes,
person?
sorry.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
So they're
Yeah.
stacked. And I've got 6.
Thank
I was told you wouldn't need one.
I don't.
Sorry.
I really don't.
Thank you, Doug.
Yeah.
Oh wait, I think you have one because I
You
have
want
mine on mine.
All right.
If you like.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay.
So we've had this position obviously posted for quite some time. We've had very little activity around applications for the position. We originally posted it on Indeed, MMA, and on our town website. The applications that we got, I mean, Indeed tends to attract, multiple candidates, but usually they're not good fit candidates. And we had a few submissions through our HR department directly, but they, again, just weren't a good fit. So, in considering how to best attract and a better fit candidate, I'm looking at the job posting, looking at the job description. Dave was kind enough to provide me some feedback around, what his duties are, what he's actually working on in real time here in that position, and compare it to the job description. In this packet, I just kind of attached those changes and then the logic behind it, just so you have a chance to get an idea of what, my thought is around making some adjustments. We want to attract a broader pool of candidates. I think the original description and posting just was too specific and didn't necessarily accurately reflect the duties of the position. So I wanted to kind of broaden that out a bit and make the job description a little bit more flexible while still being very specific to the necessary requirements, but focusing a little bit more broadly on the effort to hopefully attract folks who have those transferable skills plus the necessary skills to manage this department. So with that in mind, I made some changes to kind of make the job posting a little bit more appealing, make the job description a little bit more concise and digestible, and also certainly open to suggestions there. And then I thought maybe we could talk about the recruiting process and the interview process a little bit too.
Sure. Do you have any thoughts or questions, Mr. Ryan?
Is there anything specific here that was changed that would be glaring, that would?
Not in the job posting, no.
Okay.
Nope, nothing glaring. In the job description, that from the original, this is formatted a little bit differently. Again, it just reads more professionally. It's a better representation of the position, and I think it speaks a little bit more specifically to, again, both those like technical skills and the broader leadership skills that we're hoping to attract.
So Mike, I'm good.
Thank you. I just have a few thoughts and questions, Laurie. So, in terms of what you just provided as updates, have you made any changes to the job posting itself, or just the job description?
So both, but none of them have been, posted to any public forum. So this is just drafts.
Draft working,
Yes,
okay.
exactly. So either, certainly look at them tonight, or I sent them to you by email, send me your feedback.
Okay.
And we can make sure that they look as you would wish for them to look before we actually get them out to the public.
I guess we have technical knowledge now because we hire and we bring in the technical knowledge. One of the changes, I get why in terms of education, we would go to preferring bachelor's. That just makes perfect sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
But just in terms of the licensure requirements, there are especially in the municipal realm, it's almost a best practice at this point to have language that allows for the certification to happen on the job as part of onboarding or within a time-defined process. I guess the only question I have really for Dave, given the technicalities of this specific role, would that be okay if we went from requiring that from the outset to allowing that certification to happen over time? I guess is the
Are you
question.
speaking in regards to the wastewater licensure?
Yes.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
I think it's gonna commensurate on whatever. It could be a combination, you know what I mean,
Yep,
of what
yep.
type of degree you have, and then, you typically don't need a full wastewater 7 license, but if you had a 3,
Okay.
and then you also had a collection certificate of some sort,
Okay.
that would help you. If somebody
Yep.
already has that, would help out the education aspect of it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Because that would give you wastewater
mix.
treatment plant experience, and also out in fields with the collections.
Okay.
So,
I know that makes sense. Again, frankly, just really because the board is not the technical experts here. Really, in terms of, the requirements, the functions, everything else. I think, the board is relying on the town, staff to define exactly what those technical requirements and functions are. Really, if I'm coming at this whole thing from a board member, what I am and what I'm really focused on here is what and how we're reflecting the opportunity in the posting. Because the posting, in my opinion, is how we're we're branding and selling this position right from the outset. And based on the what's the word I'm looking for? The transitions that we've been through for the last 5 years. I do think it would be important in the posting. I actually have edits, and I just left them in my office. But I do think it would be important to reflect 2 things in the posting. Number one, that we have. And I want to make sure we get language right here. But we have a reorganized board. I think the fact that we have this board, we're an extremely new board, but I think that's extremely important to tell potential and prospective applicants. Number one. I also, in the language in the like original posting, oh yeah, like I'm looking again, like I've already done this in an edit that I don't have right now, but trying to, yes, like it's very obvious based on the charter and everything else that the superintendent works under the direction of the sewer commissioners. But I think language to show also in that same vein that we place an extreme importance and priority in the collaboration with the town administrator to, like in other town departments, to really emphasize right at the beginning that with this new, with our new board, and that through this hiring, we're extremely committed to building a greater sense of, collaboration and the expectation, because we have that expectation for ourselves as a board, the expectation to work as a member of a team and to collaborate. I think if there's any way we can, really refine the posting to reflect those attributes, I'm hoping that it will hopefully show that we have a new day here. That's just my thought. And yeah, I mean, I know we, again, we have a little bit of a reputation, and I want to make sure, hopefully right at the outset, we're doing what we need to do to let people know that we're,
Transparent.
yeah, like, we're transparent, but that we also, we're also trying to improve upon, how we've done things in the past.
Mike, can I make one comment about the certification question you had?
Sure.
We've done that with a number of other positions in town hall where we'll potentially hire someone that doesn't have the specific certification, but we give a specific time frame, 6 months or 1 year, like whatever's as long as it's realistic,
Yep.
but a definitive time frame, so it's not just open-ended and it just drags on and on and on.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so that, and I think that's a good idea to do that here because it's a tough market right now to
Yep.
hire this position, so that gives you a little bit more flexibility to
Agreed.
get somebody that can grow.
Makes sense.
Did you want to talk, Lori, at all about the locations, the places to
Yeah,
advertise?
Sure,
Maybe
if,
we can do
if,
that.
as long as everybody
Sure.
wants to move on from the posting, I can absolutely revise some of the language. I did, when I made the edits, I thought more about like the sort of community-oriented nature of the position, just to kind of like rebrand it a little bit, so that'll make it easier to incorporate some of your thoughts, it'll feel like it fits.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's important. And then in thinking about where we post the position, so again, we'll go back to MMA, because I do think it's it is the place in Massachusetts where a lot of folks look for these types of roles. Obviously, we'll post it on our town website. I'm sort of ambivalent about Indeed, if we can post it there, but I feel like it doesn't often bear a whole lot of fruit, but if it does, it does. Thinking more about like industry boards, we talked about this a little bit earlier. The Massachusetts Water Environment Association website has a job board. New England Water Environment Association has a job board.
Should have had a booth at their conference today. That's what we should have done. Gone to their conference and had a table and said, we're hiring. Sorry. Anyways, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. And the Water Environment Federation also has a well developed job board. I think it's easy enough for us to post there. I think it would make sense to post this there so we can get more sort of specific eyes on the job.
Right. We're focusing on people that are already they're already looking at the water.
They're already in the industry.
Correct.
Yes, yep,
Makes-
yeah. Or reaching out, obviously, I mean, I know this is, you want someone with some experience, but I don't think it would be, not worth the effort just to reach out to some of the local universities and just get some feedback from, their program managers to see if they've got you know, alumni that we could maybe connect with. I don't think, obviously, a recent graduate is the fit, but there are obviously a lot of
Right.
opportunities to connect with alumni that are specific, you know, who have these specific skills.
Are any of like the engineering, engineering schools like with Wentworth? I mean, or would this be too advanced for?
Well, the
the
problem
engineering.
is it's a municipal job, and they're coming out of MIT,
Yeah, they're right in
RIT, WPI, and
Yeah.
going right into the private sector.
Mhm.
I mean, you could look, Mass Maritime does do a wastewater.
Okay.
You know, you could maybe reach out to the Alumni Association for maybe job postings there, because,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the odds are you might get somebody like we talked about, maybe somebody that's an assistant somewhere that's just looking for their chance to, you know, to jump up into a superintendent's role,
Sure,
you know, make their mark, so,
yeah, it's worth a phone call.
right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do the sewer super? I mean, is there like a sewer superintendent's list of it all that we can throw this into, or? I mean, no.
Not that I know of, so,
Not that I'm aware of either, but I can pull the MMHR listserv and see if they have any suggestions.
Yeah,
Because the problem is there's so many of our neighbors don't have municipal sewer
That
systems. so many
is the
Yeah.
thing,
like
especially in the
Title
region.
V. I
Yeah.
know, there's just,
yeah.
Yeah.
but maybe there's one in a different region, I don't know.
Okay.
These are all very simple things that, you know, take me 10 minutes, you know, a phone call, an email.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to do all of the above and just see if we get one good suggestion, then it's helpful. So,
Yeah, I mean,
I would agree. I mean, we don't leave any stone unturned at this
Yep.
point.
yeah,
yeah, I agree.
Okay.
I mean, the MMA is usually whatever you, if you're in the municipality sector, that's the easier one,
Mhm.
so.
I agree. That's where I think I think we're doing the right thing, tweaking the job posting and the description.
Yeah. Yeah. Really like selling it and.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, no, that makes sense. So we've been through the posting. I mean, really, I mean, as the HR and the like subject matter experts, whatever you recommend to be in the job description, are we in agreement that the board would take that recommendation?
Yes.
I think like updating the posting, as we talked about. Advertising it based on what we just talked about as well. But also, I think it would be helpful, Mr. Ryan, for us to talk about, the process that will continue, after the application period closes and/or once we begin to have, applicants who we want to screen and who we may be interested in, and talking about how that screening goes. Just like in looking through this outline, there is a proposed team here in terms of the screening, and I would also say in terms of the pre-application, in terms of the preliminary interviews. Like Laurie, just as an example, I mentioned the HR director, town administrator, the interim superintendent, and also a member of the board of commissioners. I'm really like an open book, on really the structure of that. I guess my thought is, that we really want to have any interested, in prospective applicant, be able to, especially because we're working like crazy to rebrand and resell, and to really attract someone really good, that to if we empowered our town team, specifically Laurie, Doug, and Dave, to lead that process for us, that would show, and frankly, in my opinion, help to put our money where our mouth is, to say we want to hire a new sewer superintendent to be part of a team, and and again, like I've been on screening processes as a member of the board before, but frankly, what I found is like within that process, sometimes applicants also hold back on questions, concerns, everything else. And if we give, like our town staff and leadership, the ability to do that, I think that will give them like a better ability to flesh out who to recommend back to the board as finalists for the position, and it will also show, like in my view, from the board, potential applicants, that we really are a board that empowers our town employees, and I think it's a good first sign, or it could be viewed as a good first sign that they won't be micromanaged. I know we could would be also very easy and rational to say that we should have a member of the board involved in the screening too. I get how that could go either way, but I just wanted to share my thought based on kind of where we've been, where we're coming from, and how we're hoping to go forward, I guess.
No, I would actually agree with that as far as being opening. The people that are listed here, HR, Doug, David, these are people that be qualified to interview the person. I'm open to either way. I mean, as far as a commissioner being on there,
Yeah.
we can do that either way. I'm fine either way. It's probably not a bad thing to have a commissioner there
I'd
as part of
recommend
it.
it.
I agree.
Would you? Okay.
You know what I mean? But again, it doesn't have to be an aggressive part of it either. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
at the same time, they're going to have to work with us as well.
True.
So that is going to have to be a part of the process.
Yep.
But I would definitely defer to, the acting superintendent, Laurie, do the screening process. Absolutely.
But I guess, to that end, yeah, I had a thought, but I really could go either way with that. I see value in having a commissioner included, involved as well. If we were to do that, would you be available, interested in doing that?
Yes, I would be available and willing to do that. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
I want to be careful that we don't create a committee structure right now, but we could just agree that there's consensus to have you participate on behalf of the board in the process.
Yes.
Okay.
I think that's great. I think it'll be helpful to have
Okay.
you there.
Great. Do you like how I did that?
I did, and I know exactly what you're doing. No, it's good, because it's great. The HR department's leading the process, but we have one commissioner sitting here. Yeah,
And the HR has the ability to bring people in,
exactly.
and that's
Yep.
exactly what's happening here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay. Yeah, and really, the last, my last thought on this whole structure, now that we have a structure and a process, is the question I have is are we just gonna have it open until filled? So we don't have a deadline, but as soon as hopefully this spurs up some interest, and it will create a process, and based on that interest, we can move accordingly. Does that?
That's what I would recommend.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Is there anything else on any of that, Laurie, Doug, or Dave, Robin, that I missed?
Not
Thoughts?
from my perspective. No,
I think we were pretty comprehensive in covering all the bases.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Do you mind if I ask a question?
Sure.
On the interview panel information, it says options, HR director, commissioners, subject matter expert. if there's more than one commissioner, does that create
Yes.
okay.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, yes.
Yep, so whatever we can do with that's within the
minimize
bounds
that?
of
Or
the open meeting law, so, but you all can decide what you feel like makes sense there too. It's just, this is sort of just suggestions,
Mhm.
and maybe you think about it and decide what you think might be best.
And is the thought that this would kind of narrow it down to finalists, and then the finalists would be
Yes.
interviewed in a publicly posted
Yes.
board meeting, so,
Yes.
right.
So yeah, that process again, led by you, Laurie, would not, and we don't have to create any type of separate structure because that process would be led by you.
Mm-hmm.
That would take us through screening, through preliminary, and hopefully, if we're lucky enough, the recommendation of a finalist to finalist. However,
However many there are.
Sure.
yeah,
And I think the benefit of that is there's some people that might be interested, but they don't necessarily want to have a live television
Yes.
interview because they might not have talked to their employer. So
Yep.
this way you can kind of get to that point where you have people that are fully committed all in to be a finalist,
Mhm.
and then it's a public interview just with the commissioners, and it's your call in the end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So I
that
think
makes sense.
that gives you a little bit more ability.
Mm-hmm.
is everyone in agreement with that? Are we all
I'm good with
okay?
that.
On the same page. Okay. Perfect. Okay. Thank you, Laurie, for
Thank you.
everything, and hopefully we'll be able to track some folks now.
Absolutely. No, my
Thank you.
pleasure. Thank you for having me. Any more questions from you? Am I
No, you're
scooting
good.
away
Oh,
now?
yes.
Okay. All right.
Thanks a lot,
Thanks so
Lori.
much,
Have a good
guys.
Thank you.
nice to see you. Lori.
Nice to see you.
Nice to meet you, Laura.
Ooh, pardon me. Nice to meet you in person.
Thanks, Laurie.
Take care.
Okay, moving through the next item on the agenda, we have the OPM for the plant upgrades discussion. And we do have the town administrator here, so Mr. Lapp.
Can I jump right in?
Sure.
All right, so I got some folders for you guys. That's one for you, and actually I'll give you an extra one for Walter.
Thank you.
Great. There you go. So I prepared like a whole thing, so I thought I'd just kind of run through it right from the start. So the first page, I just printed out 2 pages, it's double-sided, from the State Inspector General's Public Construction Law Procurement Handbook. And just in case you all weren't familiar with it, projects costing at least $1.5 million or more require us to bring in an owner's project manager. So this has been talked about for a while, but I just wanted you guys to, see the legislative requirement for us to have an OPM, so it's not optional. When I first got into this about 20 years ago, my first big project, I was frustrated about this, like, oh, it's making us spend another, whatever. But in the end, it's a really valuable addition because it represents the owner, the town. It doesn't represent the engineers, it doesn't represent the contractor, it represents the town, the taxpayers. And they'll push back against the engineers to make sure the design is economical and efficient. They'll push back on the contractors to make sure we're getting value and all that. So it's required, but it does add a lot of value. So I just wanted to give you that cite. And on the back of it, it just gives from the state law what some of the broad categories of the type of work that the OPM should do. But you'll see the second sentence that I highlighted says it can also vary, depending on the project and the complexity, etc. Then the next page is I've drafted the RFQ and I've advertised it, it's issued, it's up and live, and I'll explain what an RFQ is and what it means in a minute. But this next page is the advertisement, and you see the deadline is Wednesday, February 12th at 2 o'clock, and we have all of the proposals coming in here to the sewer department. So Robin, you need to be on the lookout for that. I put in that they need to provide at least 7 bound hard copies, because I figured 3 plus Dave plus Robin plus Megan, whoever else you want to have review this. So that's the advertisement. Then the next is the page from the Central Register. That's the one of the required advertising locations that the state requires. And this is really like the central place that all engineers, architects, contractors look to for advertisements for bids, basically. So you can see that's the central register ad. Then the next page is the newspaper ad that we had published in the Patriot Ledger. That's also required. So that's just all for your file. So then the next document, the stapled document with the aerial photo, that's the actual request for qualifications document. And the key thing I guess I want to say in general, if you're not, are you familiar with these RFQs? I don't want to be, okay. The main thing is like when we say we're going out to bid to hire a company to replace the roof on this building, right? We got specs for the roof. You go out to bid, there's minimum qualifications. You got to be a licensed contractor. You got to have your OSHA card, whatever. They fill out what's the price. You go with a low bid. You know, as long as they're a responsible company, you go with a low price. When you hire either architects or engineers or project managers, you're not allowed to pick them based on price. You don't just pick the cheapest one, the lowest price. You put out a request for qualifications, sometimes called a statement of qualifications, and you pick the most qualified firm. There's no discussion of price. They're not allowed to talk about how much they're going to charge. You have to pick the best company. Once you figure out who you think is the best firm, then you negotiate a price with them.
Okay.
And so let's just say, pretend we think you're the best company.
Yep.
And you're like, well, I want $20 million to be your OPM. And we're like, well, that's unaffordable. We can't do that. And we can't reach an agreement. Then we not cross you off the list. We go to the next ranked highest firm, and we just keep going down the list until we reach agreement. That generally never happens. Usually when you pick the most qualified firm, you can reach an agreement on fee, because they're generally not unreasonable. But that's the key difference is there's no mention of price in here.
Okay.
So I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but I just thought I'd kind of skim through it. On page 2, we have Dave Taylor with his sewer superintendent email address as the point of contact for any kind of technical questions about the scope, and I have my contact information if there's just administrative kind of procurement questions about this. So then there's some background information, which I got from Wright Pierce on page 3, that just talks about what the wastewater treatment plan is, our permit, things like that. Then when you go on to page 4, and again, this was all really helpful information I got from the engineers, Wright Pierce, descriptions about what the upcoming wastewater treatment plant upgrades are going to be. So what the actual construction that's being designed currently that this OPM would oversee, this describes all the different types of upgrades, electrical distribution systems, secondary treatment system upgrades, etc. Then you go into page 3, and there's a few, and if you have any questions, stop me and we can always come back. Page 3 gives a time frame for when we're anticipating, design and permitting to start, when construction could start, construction should be complete. Then more on page 5, it lists some of the specific scope of work that we want the owner's project manager to do, initial meetings, reviewing, design, reviewing preliminary design, etc. Attending more meetings. I'm on to page 6 now, reviewing final design, giving technical engineering reviews, reviewing cost estimates. Those types of things are really helpful because the project manager, a good one, has their finger on the pulse in the industry, in the marketplace. They know what other communities are doing, what best practices are, what things might be excessive or necessary, et cetera, et cetera. A key part of this also is under final design, the OPM needs to really be an expert in the public construction law, because when you get into large projects like this, it trips additional procurement rules, things like filed sub-bids and pre-qualification statements and all this kind of technical stuff that it's a lot of paperwork and a lot of detailed stuff that's just really time consuming, and so it's just great to have somebody that is an expert.
I understand.
And they're looking out for you. Then there's information about the bidding phase on page 7, contractor pre-qualification. That's a big one where you have to someone has to review all these statements to make sure that bidders on the construction end of it will be qualified and they'll help oversee the whole bidding process. Now, a key point, which I'm gonna come back to when we're done with all this, because I have a document with a couple of things I want to go over with you. It's listed under construction phase in the middle of page 7. So in this RFQ, the scope does not include overseeing construction. But, and this is the key thing, what we put in here, and this is kind of standard, this says that we might allow continuing with the selected OPM through the construction phase if you guys like them and if you want to continue working with them without going through this whole process again and do another RFQ. So that's good because it gives everybody's on the same level playing field. They know, all right, this contract is only up through bidding, but if we do a good job, they might retain us through construction.
Okay.
But if you don't like them, you don't have to.
It's a buyout clause at the end of the day.
Exactly, yep. If you don't like them, you can go out and hire somebody else.
Yeah, quick question.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, but like this, even with the construction phase, would only would only be in effect for phase 1. Any future phases, we'd have to go back out for new OPM.
So I'd have to so I think probably, I mean, we did limit this. Yeah, I think the answer is yes.
Okay.
Because the scope of services we have here really is
Phase
specific
1,
to
yeah.
phase
Okay,
1.
no, that's fine. That's
So I think that, yeah,
okay.
I think you're right. So then we get into, on the bottom of page 7, the requirements for the proposal. Pretty standard stuff, a letter with, company profile, experience, references. I'm on to page 8 now, listing of the team, what their approach will be, what their schedule will be for managing our project. There's a couple of forms in the back here that they have to fill out. And then you go to section 5 that starts listing the qualifications, that needs to be a company that has at least, 15 years of similar kinds of wastewater treatment plant engineering oversight. They have to have a professional engineer. They have to understand procurement, public construction law. They have to have all the proper licenses and registrations to perform these functions. They have to have examples of at least 5 similar projects they've done. They make sure that they haven't been debarred, etc. And then page 9 gets into the comparative evaluation criteria. So again, these criteria at the top of page 9, numbers 1 through 11, these are the things that, and we'll create a review tool for you, so when you get the proposals, you can essentially score them. How much experience do they have with knowledge of this particular plant? How much experience do they have with activated sludge wastewater treatment facilities? You can kind of go down the line, the depth and breadth of their experience of the personnel that's going to be assigned to this project. Because when they give you their qualifications, it won't just be the LAP OPM firm. It would say the LAP OPM firm, but your lead would be Robin, and she's an engineer with 20 years experience, and she's done all this. And Dave, who's blah, blah. It's specific to the individual people that you'll be working with. So it's not just, big people on a cover letter, but you get, newbies that don't have any experience, etc. So those are the 11. I won't read all 11, but it's pretty self-explanatory. So then we put in, this allows for interviews if you want to hold them, and we have a tentative schedule for when we could interview the top 3 firms. And then you'll see after that on the bottom of page 9, then fee negotiations. It's just what I indicated earlier. You will select the top ranked firm, then you negotiate the fee with that firm and go from there. And then it just talks about public records and, boilerplate stuff.
Okay.
So then on page 11, this is a standard, form where they authorize to submit the bid. Page 12 is a required form that they're up to date on all their taxes. And then page 13, it's just done a testing that they haven't colluded. And so if you haven't seen these certificates of non-collusion, what that basically means is they want to make sure that, if Megan and I are both OPMs, that we don't collude and say, hey, Doug, you apply for the Rockland job and I won't apply for that one, but I'm going to apply, I'll make something up for the Barnstable job and I won't apply for that one, so you get that. Like, we're not allowed to do that. Everybody competes and everybody picks the best firm. So that's what that is. So this is the document. It's online now on our website. Do you have any questions on this before I get into some of the issues? It's pretty standard. I mean, the main difference is just the details on your plant and the scope of services, which I got from Ray Pierce. I didn't make it up. All right, so on the next page, right before I came over, excuse me, I downloaded the plan holders list. So in order to access this RFQ on the town website, you have to register and give your information. And that's important to us because if we get any questions that need clarification and we have to issue an addendum or anything like that, it'll automatically go to everybody that's registered. So this, excuse me, just for your information, is a list of who currently pulled the RFQ. It doesn't mean they're all going to submit proposals, but you'll see there's a couple of very big reputable engineering firms that are certainly qualified. So that's that, and this will change every day. Then the last page is just a kind of a summary. So I just listed when I submitted the advertising, when the advertising was published, the due date. I have a tentative, so again, the due date is February 12th. I tentatively have February 13th to the 24th, which would be the staff review of the proposals and interviews and a final recommendation in time for your February 25th meeting, where ultimately it's the Board of Sewer Commissioners. It's your call, who you want to hire. You don't have to do it this way. You could if you wanted to. I guess we'll go down to the bottom here before I get ahead, but that's the time frame there. So your February 25th meeting, if we stay on this schedule, that's when you'd vote to award the contract. And then my recommendation would be you would authorize Dave as interim superintendent to negotiate the fee and sign the contract with the firm. Again, you don't have to do it that way. You could have everything in your meetings if you want. I'm just trying to find the right balance between.
Agreed.
Yeah. And then that gives roughly February 26th to March 7th for Dave to do that fee negotiation, then work with town council to execute the contract with a winning firm. So what I put for kind of a few items to discuss with you is, I already talked about number one, which was I've done all this through our website, which again, it's much more efficient. If we didn't do it that way, we'd literally have to mail a physical hard copy, to everybody that calls or asks for it. It's just so much more efficient to do it that way. We already talked about number two, which was how I put in that it gives the option to continue working with the OPM during construction if you want. It's just your option, so it doesn't bind you. And then lastly, this is probably the main thing to talk about now, and you don't need to decide it this second, you can wait. Who would you like to have on the review team? So my personal recommendation for the review team would be to have Dave as interim superintendent, Megan as plant manager. I'm sorry, I'm volunteering you for something. I don't know if you're...
Actually, I want to be part of this.
Great, Perez, it's just perfect. Our assistant town administrator, Courtney Biergard, who has the capacity and time to do this, and she's very sharp. I think she'll be a really good addition. The town planner, Allison Quinn, who has a lot of experience with infrastructure planning. She's very up to date on this stuff. And similar to what we talked about with the superintendent hiring, I think it'd be good to have one commissioner on that initial review team. That's just my advice. Totally up to you if you want to follow that or tweak it or change it however you want. And that's kind of all I have for this. Again, this is something that's been talked about for months before you guys were even appointed, so that's why I didn't kind of wait to have you approve it because it's required, and I just followed all the regular state rules.
Makes sense.
So I'm happy to answer any questions or hear any feedback.
Ed, do you have any thoughts, questions?
I mean, for the interviews team they put together there, if you will, that makes perfectly good sense to me. I mean, I rely a lot on Dave for a lot of these things. Dave's been in the trenches. He's been our best superintendent for the last 5 years. So to be realistic,
I don't know if that's a compliment.
It is.
It is. It certainly is.
Thanks.
So yeah, I'm gonna rely on Dave a lot for the interview process. He's the one that's been here day to day. So I think this plan works. This plan actually works for me all the way around.
Yeah,
That's good, and I'm happy to hear that you're willing to do this, because I think your knowledge and experience will be critical for this, because nobody knows the plant better than you. It really would not be appropriate to have representatives from Wright Pierce on this team, because the OPM is really going to be a check on the architect. They're representing us, and so you don't want someone that's too close with the engineer. You want an independent check, so that's why I didn't include them.
This makes perfectly good sense to me. This whole thing.
Yeah, ditto. Just actually, two minor questions I have is, Alec, is this part of the bid package right now?
This document?
Yeah.
No, this is just for you for this meeting.
Okay,
This is
okay.
just a discussion
Okay.
document. The only thing, what I gave you that's this staple document, this is the public
Okay,
document, the RFQ that's posted online. Yeah, this is just a working document for this meeting.
okay. Just in terms of above, it'll be later on the agenda, but because I'm extremely high maintenance, yet again, we'll have to talk about changing like our meeting dates or the day of the week. So maybe there's a possibility that 225 will either go to 224 or 226, depending on that.
I didn't put that date in the RFQ,
Okay.
so you guys do whatever you want.
Perfect.
And then I don't have any issue, especially Matt, because you're, we're gonna be doing the screening and the preliminary, like superintendent stuff. If you want me to jump on, the rating and and everything of the proposals, I don't have an issue with that. I would just ask
It's up to you guys.
if it's all right, Doug.
Tell us later. You don't need to tell us now. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Or?
Oh, I don't have a problem jumping on if you could just be kind of flexible with kind of my high maintenance scheduling needs over the next few months, the next month. Sorry.
Nope.
Start meeting, these are becoming a lot of work.
Right?
Huh? Yeah, I know. Seriously, I'm changing. Yeah, but yeah, no, I
No problem, Mike. That's fine.
just have to.
No worries. No, you guys are great. No problem. But I feel pretty confident that you'll have some good firms.
Mhm.
Because this is
These are good names on here.
these are good names, and there's other top-notch firms that I anticipate will be
Okay.
applying, and a lot of I think if they're sharp, they'll pick up on the fact that this is phase one. There's future phases.
Right.
So that they'll want to get into a project like this because there's going to be a lot more work for many years to come. So
Right.
I think you'll have some really good applicants.
Enough, but and we just in terms of the process, we did vote to approve the OPM and everything at the last meeting. You don't have to have any.
No,
Other votes
I
for us.
don't need any votes.
Okay.
I would just kind of remind Robin that the proposals will come here, and if any, sometimes proposals come in late. Usually it's because there's like a problem with FedEx or UPS or something. But if anything arrives late after the deadline, do not accept it.
Right.
Send it back, like literally tell the UPS or FedEx person, and oftentimes they'll do a song and a dance to try to make excuses that it doesn't matter, and so
Yeah.
people need to plan ahead and get them here on time. Just don't even accept it. That's my advice. All right.
Oh, that's great. Thank you for
All right.
everything.
Anything else from me before I go?
No,
for
thank
everything.
you.
Thank
All
you,
right.
Doug.
Thank you both for volunteering me. Appreciate it very much. Have a good one. Yeah, see you, Rob.
Thanks,
See you,
Doug.
Dave.
Yeah.
Moving on, we're into administrative update. Drain layer renewals, I think is the first piece there.
I just need 1 second.
Oh, sorry, Robin. Thanks, Doug.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, son.
All right, so I'm next. So, at the end of each calendar year, I send out a letter to all of our existing drain layers,
Yep.
asking them if they'd like to renew. And so far, I've had 8 renewal applications filled out. It's not as extensive as when they're brand new, because we've already checked all the references, they've done work in town. So basically what we require them to do is to update their insurance certificates for workman's comp and their overall insurance, and then we ask them to provide a bond for the town. So these 8 applicants have done that. I can list them, and then if you wouldn't mind voting them all at once.
Yep.
The first one is Tascon Corporation, 415 VFW Drive in Rockland. They submitted all the correct paperwork and the payment. Sandstone Construction Inc., they're out of Marion, Massachusetts.
Okay.
The same completed packet. Guaranteed Builders out of Douglas, Mass. They provided a full packet. McDougal Brothers Enterprise LLC out of Marshfield, complete packet and payment. Sean Farrell Excavation, they're out of Quincy, full packet and payment. Glenn LaPointe, Abington, Massachusetts, full packet and payment. Sea Spirito Inc., they're in Weymouth, Massachusetts, they filled out a complete packet and payment. And then T.A. Laria Corporation out of Hingham, Massachusetts, complete packet. So I would ask that you vote to approve the renewal of those, and but then I need a signature on these. I actually can have the superintendent sign these, if you can
Yes.
vote.
And we don't have, and we haven't had any issues with any of those like renewals at
No.
all. Everything's in.
No, those have all gone through the reference process at one point.
Great. I would entertain like a motion to approve the renewals of those 8 drain lays, and to authorize the sewer superintendent to sign the license.
I will make that motion.
I will step down in a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay. I actually had a request for an abatement. So I'm sure you're aware that your sewer consumption is based on your water meter. So we had a woman over in Leisure Woods, so those are raised mobile homes. She had a leak under her home, and her son noticed it when he was there. She's older, she didn't hear it running. She called Holdley, they fixed it. She supplied me with an invoice for that and a letter describing it to the Town of Rockland Sewer Department. Request for abatement on her account. A water pipe connection broke in the crawl space of the house. This didn't affect the house water flow, however the water was coming out and into the ground. One day my son was in the front garden and heard the flow of water down under the house, crawled under, and we called the company for repair. Copy of invoice attached. I'm the only resident in the home, and my sewer bills have been the minimum charge in the past. So typically, what I would do is look at their account, go back 3 cyclical events. So I go back to this, we did that reading in November of 24. So I'm back to November of 23, 22, 21, averaged it out. And she's always the minimum. So our current minimum is $70. Before that, it was $55. She was always $55. 40. She's never been above the minimum in her entire history.
Yep.
So I would ask the board if they, so the charges came to, it was outrageous actually. Her bill is $829.34 because she went from her average up to 9,045 gallons that we did not process at the sewer department because it ran into the ground. So I would ask the board if they would consider an abatement of $759.34, which would bring her bill down to the minimum of 70.
I will entertain a
I'll
motion.
make a motion to accept that abatement.
And I would definitely step down to second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Alright, let's vote.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robin.
Thank you, I appreciate that. And I had one other thing that I thought might be interesting to us, the board, the sewer department. I wanna pass
you.
those down. That's just a description, so there's a new law in Massachusetts about accessory dwelling units, and that's gonna come into play in February. And what it does is allows for homeowners to add an additional, it can be connected or unconnected, up to 900 square foot dwelling, which could house up to 2 bedrooms onto an existing property. So that will, if that happens, you know, if people decide that that's what they want to do, they'll be coming to us for tie-ins to the sewer. So we would have to think ahead on how you would want that to happen. Do we want them to tie into the existing building that's there if it's a separate residence? What fees we would charge them, and I'm sure David will have ideas on, you know, in keeping with how we currently charge, but that's something that's on the horizon, and just giving you feed for thought with that. Something to think about.
Can I just mention one thing on that? Like, I think, based on what are the new, as of the end of last week, state regulations, the new state regs also say that towns can't require a second hookup for an ADU as well.
Yeah, that just happened. So what I think Robin is referring to is we would have to make the decision as a board
Yeah.
on, these could be additional 2 bedrooms, so you could be dealing with a house that's at 4 bedrooms already. And you could be adding 2 more bedrooms into the system. And there'll be different options coming up that will be presented to the board. One would be, maybe originally they had a septic and the system goes around the back. And will they be allowed to tie right into that? Or will they be tying into the basement plumbing from the back of the house or the side of the house, and where it's gonna be requiring the plumbing? And then also, you'd be looking at adding 2 bedrooms. Then are there gonna be applicable, I&I fees, permit fees, you know what I mean? So, change of use, I mean, these are all things that you're gonna have to start thinking about as a board, coming up when these start coming. Because if you look at, even if you're adding 10 of those, if 10 people are doing it, they're adding 10 bedrooms, and you know what I mean? You're 20 more bedrooms.
Right.
Yeah,
That's a small apartment complex.
Yep.
So we have to start looking at that, on how you wanna.
And to that point, we have bigger picture. We have like a moratorium right now,
Correct.
and how this. One thing is really has the ability to affect the other here,
Correct.
in terms of just
Right.
how we approach all of this, and the precedent that how approaching one thing could affect the other as well. The for the month of February, like we're still talking about maybe having at the land use council here.
Yeah.
Maybe we can I'll kind of re-ping the question then as well. So we have our approach on ADUs. Or how we're approaching ADUs in terms of the moratorium doesn't cause any unintended impacts that opens other doors in a way that again, based on where we are with with capacity, with the administrative order, these are all real issues here.
Right, you're talking about 10 people, what if it's 100 people?
Correct.
We probably have some time too, because I'm sure
Yeah.
they'll have to go through planning and zoning and all of that before any of them even get approved to go forward, but it gives us time to get ready.
Get proactive. You probably earliest would probably you'd start to say maybe
Summer.
some build outs into the summer, fall. You know what I mean?
Right.
The time
Yeah, but I
this
think
kicks in, but you want
I
to
definitely
proactive.
get in front of it now.
Yeah.
Thank you, Robin, for
Yeah.
Oh, you're welcome.
yeah. Okay. Yeah, if we can tee that up for Tony Galvin, just in advance.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Thank you, Robin.
You're welcome.
Next item on the agenda, the superintendent update.
Well, I'll try to keep this brief, but as far as the day-to-day operations, we're getting caught up on the day-to-day operations and all the paperwork, the field work. I think probably pretty much from like last week, when you say, Robin, besides the IPP program.
Yeah, I agree.
There are a couple field projects coming up, so there's, during the winter, obviously with the salt and the plowing, a lot of the sewer structures are centerline, so there are a few that are breaking apart. So when the better weather get here, we're gonna go out and fix a few of the manholes. There's probably between 3 and 6 out there right now, mostly on main roads that we're kind of beating up before the winter, and that we'll have to get out and get ahead of because of inflow and infiltration. So one of the other things would be the open drainage, so we're still working on it. I know we touch base on this every meeting, but we have a couple open drainage projects. East Water being one on the head wall unit, and also Rice Ave at the hundreds area.
Okay.
There's a couple open area drainage easements here. So we're in the engineering phase on that. And I know I touched base that it is open drainage is under the purview of the sewer and the sewer commission. So, and then we work along with highway on the closed and try to make those transitions. We do, those two projects are in the engineering phases where they're being surveyed out right now. These have been like multiple complaints and concerns with residents in those areas. So I just wanted to bring that up. As far as the IPP program, so this is, I think we've touched base on this in the past too. This includes like the grease trap inspections. This includes dental offices, car wash facilities, and our commercial discharges. The program's been kind of pushed aside for the last couple of years. I know Violi has been helping out as far as like the grease trap inspections for the last few years, but as far as submissions by the sewer, that's been kind of on the wayside, so we're getting caught up with that as well. Those submissions are now, we have the next IPP compliance report is due March 1st. So we've been working, we just took the webinar course for that pre-treatment, and we're on the CDX portal, which I know you've used it in the past, so we've just started using it. It just got opened up this year with the IPP. So after this year, once we get all the kinks out, moving forward, it'll be a lot easier moving forward. So we're about halfway through that, and Violi's been helping us out with a lot of the information.
Yeah, I'm sorry to be dense. IPP is the acronym for what?
That is the industrial pretreatment
Okay.
program.
Okay.
So again, it covers those parameters we talked
Okay.
about.
Yep.
So we're pretty fortunate. We don't have a lot of commercial discharges. We have
Okay.
5 zero discharges
Okay.
and 2 like very small discharges that we have to monitor. So we're gonna get caught up. We're caught up on the grease traps. We've been following up on that. The dental offices are done, the car wash, and we're going back out to start doing the commercial inspections.
Okay.
So, and then, like I said, that submission has to be done March 1st of this year. I think the last time we were compliant, when was that, Robin, 22?
Yeah,
I
but the
think the
last
last
time you
we
were
did the
here, we were
audit.
compliant,
Right,
and then we weren't, and now we are.
Like I said, best superintendent we've had.
right, yeah, resume booster. So, I've been working with Justin McPerry. He's very easy to work with. I don't know how he finds times because he deals with like 50-something municipalities in Massachusetts. So, but he's been helping with that, and Viola's been great on getting all the information, and we're just getting it uploaded now. So we should be in good shape for that for March 1st. There's a little leeway time on that to give us to like the end of the month because it's the first year with it.
Yeah.
But I think we're about halfway through the report right now. So then there's a semi-annual compliance report. We submitted that back in November. Violi has the contract to assist us in that semi-annual compliance report, so we just submitted that in there. EPA had some questions on that report, the last one we did, so we are actually meeting with the EPA Thursday.
Right.
So they're gonna kind of update us on how we wanna move forward. We've got proactive on that. That was when, essentially, I was just getting back into the sewer department. Violi are more or less of John Iott and John Karen from the management. They were helping submit those reports. So we have a plan in place moving forward where that's due in May. Like we're gonna be in February, March, we'll have that report pretty much doctored up. And Megan will be, tightening up where we need to be on the numbers, submittals, and we'll have that done. So we can bring it to the board so they can see that report before we send it out to the lawyers.
Yep.
Because the idea is we get it done in-house here, we bring it to the board, this is where we're at with everything, and we get the sign-offs, we send it off to the lawyers, and then the lawyers, tighten up any of the verbiage that we need tightened up, and they actually will submit it to the EPA. So we're kind of under the gun when I came in and, people were moving out, and we got it in, on time. So just wanted to give you a little apprised of that, or where we were with that. As far as the wastewater treatment plant projects, the digester boiler, correct me if I'm wrong, we're kind of wrapped up with that. It's cleaned up. Megan, they've been great. Like I said, they've been micromanaging that project. Wilkinson finished up. I think we just paid the last rec form with Wilkinson, so knock on wood, everything's good over there right now at the digester boiler. The generator project is also coming to a close. I know there's still a couple open-end items that we're working on right now. There's a week or two of lease punch list. I know I was in touch with Adam Higgins. He's with Wright Pierce, and Wright Pierce was hired just so. I should probably touch base on the dynamic of how it was done. So I think it kind of, you should know how it was done. So this goes back probably, I mean, I was here 2 years ago and it was just getting started, but they were, so the dynamic was done a little differently on this because I think the previous board, purchased a generator up front.
Right.
And then they also put out a bid, they had Wright Pierce do the bid docs, and also Wright Pierce was hired to oversee the project. So
It's like there's an OPM for just that.
essentially,
Okay,
right.
Yeah.
So then they hired Tilden Electric.
Okay. Yeah.
So, and then also the previous board asked Veolia staff here to also micromanage that as well. So the problem that we're running into right now, and just so the board knows, is so you didn't have the contractor buy your
Where's the warranty?
main
Yeah.
component, which is the generator. Some of those parts on that generator
Oh.
aren't adequate for the install. So now what you have is a dynamic where the installer isn't on the hook for that component, but he needs some of those upgrades and some of those things fixed on that generator while we're installing. So those are all additional task orders, because again, we bought the generator out,
Right.
you hired a contractor, you have essentially a project manager overseeing it, and you also have Veolia, thank goodness, because Veolia knows mechanicals in the old room and knows what we needed done.
Oh boy.
So we're running into a he said, she said, on certain things on the generator. CATS, was the supplier of the generator, so they're guaranteeing their components, but there's certain things that we need for the transition of that hookup that have to be upgraded or replaced. So moving forward, when we get into a situation like this, I would recommend that when you're putting out the bid specs,
One package.
put the package together so it's all, because in the end, it's going to cost us more than what it is. So I just want the board
Yeah.
to know that moving forward, that's kind of where the dynamic of that was. Okay, and it's probably something where we did have the Wright Pierce, but Wright Pierce's hands are tied as well because you're dealing with different components, and that's not mine, and so we're trying to regulate it. And like I said, and Megan's been great on it, Jesse's been great on it, and then we have to push back on what's covered, what's not covered, and what we should be getting credited for, and what we actually have to pay for. So that's where we're at. So I think a couple weeks, I think everything's tightened up. They're tightening up a few of the things. We're signing off on a few things, but we're also not signing off on a couple things too. So there's a little pushback and a little, going back and forth on that. But I think in 2 weeks, we should be all set.
Like on
So
the
you
generator
agree?
side or the electric?
The whole generator project in itself.
Okay.
Yeah. So once we, fuse everything together, I think that we're in today doing the last of the insulation
Exhaust.
around the exhaust.
Okay.
There's a couple other things that have to be swapped out.
Okay.
And then I think Megan's working on a other couple of issues on the switchovers.
We found it.
Yeah, and then I think by the time we have our next meeting, we'll have some pretty good news on that project's done. These are both significant projects that got done.
Well, thank you both.
Yeah, thank you very much.
So, and they didn't have to do it, you know what I mean? So they've, given that time in where they can oversee that because they care about what's happening at the plant.
Well, we're
So I-
here and it affects us too.
Right.
so
Yeah, no,
That
yeah.
doesn't work. We
Right.
can't do our job either. So.
Yeah.
there's a vested interest all around.
Yeah, but I just thought you should know where we are with that.
Appreciate
And
that.
so that generator project is going over. So when we get into the last pay rec form on that,
Yep.
you know, that is gonna be coming out of our wastewater treatment plant upgrades. So we're gonna be over on that, and I'll tighten up the numbers so you guys know exactly where we're at with that.
And how was the generator project originally funded?
You have some ARPA funding,
Okay.
multiple ARPA funding.
Okay.
You know, we've been moving some articles around.
Okay.
You know, the town's been very helpful on that. There's no more, you know, all our ARPA funding is spoken for, and
Committed, yeah.
it's done, it's just wrapping up.
Okay.
So, we're gonna have to take it out of the wastewater treatment plant upgrades, and then we're gonna have to try to replace some of that
Yep.
moving forward.
Okay.
So you guys, you know, should know where we are, monetarily on that project, so. Same thing on the generator, a little over, but, you know, that's contingency value on that, and then we were able to close out that project, and we're clean on that now.
Generally speaking, on the generator project, I mean, how much is over? Just
On the generator,
Yeah.
the digester boiler, or the
generator. Generally speaking.
100 to 150 maybe by the time we get done on a few things. Probably there'll be some electrical upgrades we're gonna have to do over there. We're gonna have to do some stuff. It's gonna range, so we're tightening up. I mean, we're hovering around the 150 mark. I'm not gonna be
Yeah.
around it, and then you're probably realistically, by the time we do some internal upgrades to make it easier on maintenance
Yeah.
issues,
Yeah.
we're probably busted near too.
Okay.
So, just so we're all clear on that,
No, thank you.
okay? The other major, obviously, the wastewater treatment plant upgrade is, you know, what we have going on as far as design phase of the electrical systems. We're in preliminary right now. I just wanna bring this up because I think, you know, where we're talking about, we're on the OPM, so
Yeah.
my dealing right now with Wright Pierce is I want to make them stay in the preliminary design and not move outside of that
Yep.
design. So, and I know I talked to Megan because I know a couple of the engineers are reaching out for more information, but I just wanted to have the board's backing on that,
Yeah.
you know, that we take that stance. So, you know, I don't feel I should be making those major decisions without an OPM board. That was part of the agreement when I came over here, that we have an OPM on board. I think the timing is good on that by the time we get that.
Yep.
I just don't want to get too far ahead on the design, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and them too far ahead of us where we're at right now.
Right.
Oh no, I completely. Yeah, I don't disagree at all. Do you need a vote from us, really emphasizing that?
I just think if you guys have a voice where you're, you know, you're supporting that, I don't think you necessarily need to vote,
Okay.
but I just the way I'm leaning on it and the way
Yeah.
I like to, that's how I put it out.
Yeah.
With Wright Pierce, and nothing against Wright Pierce, I'm not set up to make those decisions, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I would think it would be more value for the town if our OPM is on board at that point, before we start making, you know, decisions on the building,
Yep.
the mechanicals involved in that, and I don't wanna waste the money up front right now. So I think, you know, if we stay in the preliminary design right now, it keeps everybody where we need to be.
Yeah.
And then our OPM comes on and starts making some of those heavy decisions for us.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have an issue with that. Like, we back you up 180% on that,
Agreed.
Dave.
Okay.
You know, and frankly, I mean, I know it's been on our list to have all of our engineers in,
Mm-hmm.
but you can, tell Wright PS that if they have any questions, they can come visit us at a board meeting and be
Right.
happy to tell them that exact same thing.
And I think we're gonna try to get them scheduled for our next one, and we'll
Okay.
have Weston and Sampson come
Great.
in for the one after that.
Okay,
Perfect.
great.
Because I think Wright Pierce, at this point,
With every- yeah.
with the plan upgrades,
Yep.
is a little bit more significant, and I think once we have the meeting with the EPA on Thursday, a couple things we're gonna shake out as far as the I&I.
Yep.
And then we could go from there with Weston and Sampson.
Okay. Well,
Okay.
that's great.
All right.
Thank you.
Ongoing projects or developments that are happening in town, obviously, we still have the Dyer Street project right now. So, I do a weekly site visit just to keep it honest up there. They're still in phase 2 up there. There's gonna be probably 4 phases up there, so we'll keep up with that. I mean, they're all caught up on their fees. It's just a matter of, going out there for inspections, the times, they did all their pressure testing, so they're all up to date on that. We make everybody do manhole and lateral testing.
Okay.
So all of the main lines have already been tested on that, so we make sure that's done.
Okay.
Okay, Concord Meadows is 365 Concord Street, so they've got a few houses that are already being framed right now, they're getting beyond that. We've already done 2 inspections, and they foresee, probably having another couple next week, and so those permits are coming in. They're all caught up on our permits on that.
Correct.
Okay. On that project, just so you know, there was no, from the previous board, there was no I&I fees involved in that. So that's a substantial loss for us.
Yeah, like, on that, Dave, like, I just wanted to make sure that we as a board are like getting kind of like the sequencing. So the approval of Concord Meadows was approved pre having a moratorium in place then.
I think we had the moratorium in
We've
place.
always had a moratorium.
Yeah, it
Well,
was-
we've had the administrative order, and we did have some
Okay.
kind of a moratorium in place, but
Yeah.
not as.
I think the original 365, sorry, was when John was here. And
It
but it was
started
more
when John
units
was
at that
here.
point.
Okay.
And the previous board honored the original pricing based on
Okay.
when
Yeah. Okay. No, that
365 Concord
understand.
first approached us.
Okay.
You can agree or disagree with that, but that's
No,
why
no,
we
no,
didn't
no.
get it.
I'm not.
Yeah, no,
I
that's
mean, like,
why
I don't think we're trying to I just think it's important just to understand the
Well,
sequencing.
I
it's
think,
important
yeah.
that David mentioned it because we will have to remove that I&I based on that project, but we never collected the funding to do that. And to be in keeping with the EPA requirement for the moratorium, we do need to remove that I&I.
Do we have the ability to reapproach that now?
No,
No,
no, you don't. They've started. So the sequence that you're mentioning. So say we have a project coming in.
Yep.
All right. All our projects are out there right now. So we get Concord Meadows, Airport Drive is all done. That's the Upper Bayview addition.
Yep.
And then you have the schoolhouse apartments.
Yeah.
So those fees were already made in. So if we had a project, say somebody came in right now with a 10 lot subdivision of residential, the process is this: we would ask them to come in and see the board. We would already come up with, we have a fee matrix,
Yep.
which we both did. What was this? 2 or 3 years ago?
Well,
Years
yeah,
ago.
yeah.
Yep.
Where we have in line.
Yep.
And we have the fees already mapped out. That would include like your pre-engineering, your post-engineering, and your 11-to-1 I&I
Yep.
removal, and then all your development fees that should be on top of that.
Yep.
And then they would come in to the board asking for approvals, and then you would look at that fee schedule,
Okay.
and that would be based off of that. They would have to agree at that point.
Yep.
That's when you want to give them the fees
Yep.
at the meeting so they see it, not at a different time,
Yep.
but at that meeting upon approvals. Okay, and then there's no doubt those are the fees
Yep.
they're paying. Those are the fees that need to be done and paid during the project, unless you somehow come up with some other payment schedule or something, so we don't run into not having the money for the I&I.
Okay. Yeah, no, I mean, my question was aspirational more than anything else.
Right.
Just hoping a dream, even
Right.
though I knew it was.
Well, honestly, even if you get into like we're talking about those ADUs, right? Even if you get into something like that when you're approving 2 bedrooms, like
However,
that's going to be a fee.
I, yep.
Right,
Yep.
it has to be, because we have to equate that, and we have to be able to remediate that. So moving forward, and in order to meet those EPA guidelines.
do you mind if I add something to that?
No.
So originally, the administrative order of 2006,
Yep.
most towns have a 4-to-1 removal ratio, which
Yep.
means if we give you 1 gallon for your project, we have to remove 4.
Yep.
In 2006, somehow we made an agreement with the EPA that we would remove 11 gallons.
11 to
So
1.
if we give you 1 bedroom, we have to remove 1,100 gallons because the Title V regulations allot 110 gallons per bedroom. So if you're adding 1 bedroom, we have to remove 1,100 gallons, so we charge you per gallon. It comes out to $2,200 $1,100 for 1 bedroom. The fees.
Correct. Which will help you, like even if you're looking at those bedrooms and
Yep.
I mean, obviously, we have to adhere to our moratorium that we have right now. But I'm saying, like, if maybe down the road in the future, if it's somehow, you know, we're showing that we need this I&I funding in order to help us out in the field. Because right now you have substantial projects at the wastewater treatment plant, but we also have to go and remediate all that I&I.
Yep.
So we have to,
Twofer.
we have to solve both things.
Yep.
So we have to work with both of those together. So the developmental fees can help with some of the plant upgrades, and the I&I will go right out into the field and recoup some of that I&I.
So what the moratorium doesn't address is the moratorium has a threshold of 440 gallons. But if you put an ADU in your backyard with 2 bedrooms, you're only at 220, you're not subject to the moratorium.
So that we're gonna have to look into, because we're gonna
So
have to
even
look
though
into
you're
how
not
that's
subject
done.
to it, we still have to collect the I&I fees, and we still have to tabulate that and report that and remove that I&I, because we'd be giving it away.
Yeah, I mean, again, I mean, not to open up Pandora's box here, but it's and I mean, like, it just brings everything back to the definition of how we're addressing the administrative order, i.e., in our current instance, through the moratorium, what that is doing, what gaps exist in the practical implementation of that,
Right.
and how we deal with the challenges that we have.
Right, so, you know, we might have looked at the occasional bedroom here and there, but this new legislation opens it up for
Oh,
lots
yeah.
more development.
I mean, keep in mind, you can still push back on a lot of that because we are under a moratorium. We're just gonna have to
Mm-hmm.
figure out how we're gonna go about, you know, something like
approach
that,
there,
or
yeah.
even, you know, like Robin said, the 440 is based on four bedrooms already.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? If you have somebody that has, maybe somebody has a Cape, 2 bedrooms, and they come in with another 2 unit, with an 80.
I mean, I'm just thinking worst case scenario, and I mean, I'm not being dramatic here, but I mean, when we have ADUs by right, I mean, those that were 110 to 220 is potentially, though I don't think it's going to happen right away, that could potentially compound on itself.
Yeah.
To add up to way more than, you know, at 440 and have an impact there.
Mhm.
Right.
And
How do we stop it?
oh, you
Well,
gotta
it
chase.
depends on how efficient
Control.
we are at removing the I&I also. Because that's what the money is for. If we become really efficient at removing I&I, we should eventually get ahead of the game with that.
I mean, and then on the other side, we have really good projects that are held up in the queue right now as well. That, I mean, some of that capacity is then going to ADUs rather than projects that are really gonna help our growth.
Right?
Yeah, you guys gonna have a few hard decisions coming up. But we thought you guys should be aware of
No,
it.
thank you.
And Robin has a
Thank
good,
you.
well,
I
she
mean,
has
no,
a-
honestly, I think it's
Robin has
helpful
a
to
good
get
pulse
things out
on
there
like
now.
the real
Yeah.
estate and
Yeah.
like what's gonna be coming, because those are significant for people that are looking to do like an in-law or, you know, they add it, you know what I
Oh,
mean?
yeah.
So,
Put a dent in the real estate sales.
yeah. Yeah,
But no, I think you're gonna see a lot of people.
yes, I think you are. I think you
You can
are.
see multi-generations live on one property now. It's
Right. Your kids can't go away, I
I'm
mean,
going home to Turner Road. That's it.
yeah.
Sorry, Mom and Dad.
All right, so the last thing was like some of the budgetary items and the, so the capital requests. So, I don't have a lot as far as the capital requests. These are some of the things that I've put in the past. So as far as the capital requests, so I have one capital request in for pump repair and replace. So that I kind of leave that open-ended, so that would help us with any pump repairs
Yep.
or replacing. That would be, we could use it at the plant, and we could also use it out of the field at like a, at a station, so that kind of covers that. It's a little additional, because we do have a little R&M, but this is also, we can use this specific, because as Megan can attest to, I mean, there's always 1 or 2 pumps and the price of these pumps are going through the roof, where they were 10,000 for an install of a pump, now they're 20,000-30,000.
25,000.
Right, so,
Yeah.
you know, we need to have supplementation for that.
And just a quick question, like the funding source, is the funding source back to the enterprise, or here does it come out of free cash? Or
This
other?
would come out of, if you look at us, like what we have for free cash or leftover revenues, we'll be able to
From
fund
our
these
retained
out.
revenues from the enterprise.
From our, yes,
Okay.
enterprise being our account.
Yes, okay,
Yeah.
that's my
Yep.
okay, thank you.
The same thing, so we do, so we're running into some issues with open drainage, because we just haven't, that's been on the way side, so, so we can work along with, like, if highway closes up, they'll do the culverts across the street, but then there's still head walls and open drainage on that, so we had to add a little bit more here, because now there's gonna be a little bit more engineering aspects involved in this. So, and I think, you know, I did it as a capital request this year, because this should get us kind of caught up with some of the major things that have been on the wayside for the last 2 or 3 years. So, and we thought supplementation to our regular drainage. To put in perspective, our regular drainage is 100, and 40 to 50 of that goes for engineering right off the bat for the MS4 permit.
Okay.
So that doesn't leave you much left over for a project.
Okay.
So that, hence why we did the article for this. And then we did another one for just wastewater treatment plant upgrades, just as a general, because again, you know, say we have that pump, you know, we have the pump article, and we happen to blow right through that because we have 2 pumps out in the field and a pump here. This allows us, if, say, this is a broad spectrum on any wastewater treatment. Right, so this could be anything from a roof leak to another pump here, you know, maybe we needed some clarifier work, you know, any electrical, you know, that, again, we left it broad so to come, you know, help us out and not deplete the whole R&M, if that makes sense. The other one, now this was from the previous administration, but I just thought I did it as a capital request, and that's why I left, the previous administration's names on there. So there's one for the treatment plant upgrade that's 2.5 million. So keep in mind, we are gonna need $1 million to $2 million to 2.5 once we get to the design phase of even the components, the electrical, and then those wastewater treatment plant upgrades that we have right Pierce doing. So you are going to look at that. So we're going to be looking for, again, we have enough for the preliminary design, but we are going to be looking for more money, whether it be SRF loan. Some of this will be able to get funded out of some of our receipts, so we're going to put some of that aside. Just so you know, that is coming down the pipe, but not necessarily this year,
Okay.
but also just so you know it's coming in the future.
And right now, though, what we're doing for design is now being funded under ARPA.
We have ARPA, and then we also have that 1.5 bond, which for that right now. But keep in mind, we're using some of that 1.5 for wastewater treatment plants where we're over on that. So we're going to have to, once we get into the end of the year where we see we are with receipts, we could hopefully replenish that 1.5 with some of the leftover receipts that we have. If that makes sense.
I have a question. If
Yeah.
we're deferring, I mean, if we're slowing down the design phase,
Yeah.
does that defer some of the 2.5 million further
Yes.
out? Okay.
Yes. That's why I still wanted it to be
On the
So-
capital schedule, but
Right.
practically it would be actually moving closer to 27 and 28.
correct. It could be how I foresee it right now.
Yep.
It could say it is 2.5. You might need another million, and then we'll, you know, between receipts, and then we have to shuffle some things around, and then if we have to take a loan for that to get us out of the design phase, and then we look at 2027. Hey, we're going into full design, so the whole design gets pushed back. Let's just say like 6 months for right now, if that makes sense.
And no, that makes sense. But the SRF would be looked at for construction. or even design as well.
Design, yeah, we're gonna have to look at the funding for that, and we might be all right between between what we have left over for that ARPA and that bond to get us at least started on that. That's why I'm saying if you're looking at that number and if we're splitting that, okay.
No, that makes sense.
And then that brings us to the next one, which is 20 million. So the 20 million gets us into, that's the next phase. Once you get out of the design phase, you'd be looking at the construction of that. And that, again, obviously the OPM is going to be able to tighten that up a little bit. And that's either going to be more or less, and then hopefully that comes in significantly less. So, I mean, and then, and keep in mind, you also have another rate increase. What's that, July, Robin?
Yes,
Correct?
it's a 10%.
So you have another 10% rate increase. And those rate increases are on schedule for the next 8 years at 10% each year. And that's going to help fund some of this as well.
And yeah, like that's what my so. I mean, again, and that's really like the forecast there. That's really I mean, we can probably spend one whole meeting on that.
Right.
But but generally speaking, with that 10%, with a huge, right now it's $20 million outlay. Did you have those increases absorbed any of that, or no? That's completely outside.
No, that's what we're saying. Some of those rate increases
Absorbing
are going to help absorb this.
Okay.
And that's why Robin printed out that, if you look at that elongated chart.
Okay. Yep.
But that gives you a rough idea of like the monies that are going to be needed from month to month moving forward. But again, that is going to get skewed because one, we don't have the OPM hired, and then we're going to be working on, the design will be pushed back a little bit, and then construction.
Yeah, I mean, like, not to beat a dead horse though, but like, I mean, with what we're talking about, just smaller, breaking everything down. We just went through, what we went through with a smaller generator project.
Right.
And OPM is going to help prevent all that on a way bigger scale.
Agreed.
Exactly. That's going to cost you on the OPM.
Yep.
You're going to get on the savings
Yep.
of your upgrades.
Okay, I just
And
wanted
I
to
think Doug
have
was
that up.
trying to hit on that,
Yep.
but that is significant. And again, that was one of the reasons I came over, because that would take it off of me
Yeah, no.
for right now. We can concentrate on the
Yep.
day-to-day and reporting, and the OPM will be working with that group that'll be set up for it.
Okay.
The other thing was the sewer budget. So there was just a few. There's a few items on that. We added requested for the superintendent, so we went up a little bit on that. And again, that can get skewed to however you want to do your hiring practices once you get into.
Yeah, just really a question, like on the chart,
Yeah,
like in the first column down, the requested under expenditures.
yeah.
Is that a prior? Because there's a requested, then an FY25 requested, then FY26 requested. What does the first requested column?
First request, if you look at the very top of the top
that's
of your sheet,
24.
recommending FY 2024.
That's what I thought. I just wanted
Yeah.
to confirm.
So if you look at your request, and then the second column is
Yep.
actually, where we were last year,
Yep.
and then the last column is where we're going next
Okay.
year.
No, that makes sense.
So again, administrative assistant went up because obviously that'll be contractual.
Yep.
We went up on the senior clerk too with Katie because they didn't allot enough funding for that
Yep.
before, so we had a little bit of a contingency on that.
Yep.
To cover that, you know what I mean, and obviously it's a bottom line budget,
Yep.
so we can give that back at the end of the year. As far as the senior clerk, auto allowance stayed the same. There's a new figure we're waiting for the retirement insurance and the comp numbers. We're waiting for that, so we'll plug that in as we go.
And then that becomes a town revenue, right? Like
Yeah.
we pay, like an indirect cost. I assume?
Yeah, that gets right over into the town. We
Okay.
submit that with the town. Contract operations, we added into that. Obviously, you got the CPI
Yep.
that you have to figure into that.
Yep.
There's a couple little things, and then there's a contingency built in with that as well. Just to give us a little buffer.
Yep.
Computer services, we went up. We added a little bit of a contingency with that. We went down on legal services back to where I think we were maybe 5 or 6 years ago. Was a little high last year. and the year before, so we went down, so we dropped that down. I mean, that's more of a real value. You know, we didn't use a whole lot this year, so I think that's realistic.
Okay.
Drainage, we went back up
Yeah.
to where we were a couple of years ago on the open drainage, and again, half of that's going right out into engineering, the MS4 compliance
Yep.
permit.
Yep.
Repair and maintenance, we added to that just because it's going to help us. You know, obviously we talked about, you know, the fluctuation of, you know, just everything. You know, everything's through the roof. So we felt that was good. And then inflow and infiltration, we kept that steady at 400. We feel that, with
Well, we have Concord Meadows that we have to absorb.
right. So we want to be a little bit more proactive. So when we're going into, talking with the EPA,
We're saying we're putting on money.
right.
on
We're
mountains.
rehabbing. We're getting into some of those
Yeah.
heavy hitters this spring.
Just a quick question on that.
Yep.
Like, so, this year FY25 is really the first year we've made, actually a recurring I&I expense as part of our operating budget. Then
Yeah, I mean we've had it before, but
through
it's
articles.
substantial.
Okay.
So the previous administration did a good job in boosting that number up,
Yep,
and that's and we want to keep that.
Yep. No,
So,
I don't disagree.
Yeah, I mean that number I think a few years ago,
It was 100,000.
right?
Okay.
It was 100. I think we brought it up to maybe 175. I think if I remember right.
Yeah, and then
Or
they
200?
dropped it and then it went up again.
Okay.
Right.
No, that makes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
So moving forward, that gives us a little money so we can go after some of the things that have already been identified.
Yep.
Whether it's pipelining, you can get a lot.
Yep.
Get a lot of value out of that. Some sewer rebuilds, and we're going to be very proactive come spring. We're going into it.
Okay.
So
no,
just
that's
so
great.
you know,
Yep.
we need to show that. I think those are most of the. We kept the emergency fund. We just we don't touch that. The debt and interest that's set. So that's pretty much it as far as the budget. If you look at the second one, that gives you kind of your revenues. Robin did a good job of breaking down the revenue projections, and then where we are budgetary wise and where we should, after the you got the IMA with Abington. At some point, we kind of left that intact where that was. At some point you may want to look.
Yeah,
once
when
you
is
get
that? How long is that in effect for
That's,
right now?
we haven't touched that. That goes back to I think to 1986 is the last time.
Yep, it had a 30 or 35 year on it, but
Yeah.
it never got revisited, and it just keeps it's kind
Auto
of like a
renewing
self-renewal.
until we. Okay.
Yeah.
So there
And
could
it's
be.
based on
okay.
percentages. So
Yeah.
we
Okay.
didn't feel
So
was
it
dire.
will probably be something you might want to look at in the
Yeah.
future, but obviously with so many other elements
Yep.
getting thrown at us,
Yep.
it's not really a priority right now. And keep in mind, so they have 100,000 gallons like in a bank,
Yeah.
and I think where are they at? Like 38,000 or what are we giving them right now? I mean, we talked about this.
We
yeah.
give them 110, but
Right, but
they use about 60, 65, I think.
Yeah, so there's that. So if they ever come in and they want projects to get out, they still have to come into the board to get that approval. You see what I'm saying? Where we're on the moratorium.
Yep.
So they can't just go, hey, we're going to give out
Okay.
40,000 into. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Into
Yep.
Abington.
No, that makes sense.
It's just they're meeting the same. They're meeting our guidelines that we have set forth.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yep.
And that's pretty much it. I don't know if anybody has any questions. I just thought we should touch base
No,
on
this is huge.
some of those.
Appreciate it.
some of those items, and there's some budgets, and then you got that breakdown of the monetary, what we're going to need in
Yep.
month to month moving forward, and that'll probably get skewed, on
Because the OPM.
prelim dime. Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
that's-
David, do you mind if I say a couple things?
No, go ahead.
So the revenue projections, there's little, like maybe $10,000 in revenue that's not included in there just for permits and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But when you go back to the I&I, we budgeted the 400,000.
Yeah.
We actually have revolving accounts, which were set up recently.
Yeah.
Before, when we collected for development or I&I, it went into the main budget, and then they funded that I&I account. But we
Okay,
now
got
have
it,
a
okay.
revolving account from when David was here the last time. We set it up as revolving, and those actually have funds in them. So we have 368,000 in the I&I removal in the revolving account, and we have 150 in the development. Some of that we've allocated to projects, but just so you know, that's kind of a buffer that's not included in our bottom line sewer budget.
Yeah, there's close to $1 million in potential. I
Correct for this year.
Okay.
And then I think that's how we have to move forward with it, so we're a little bit more proactive on getting some of that.
Yeah, then we
We
show
have
the
work done.
EPA. We continue to show the EPA. We're
Yeah.
not.
Yeah, well then at that point, I mean, you're still gonna have 400, but then you're gonna have to try to build up that account
Yeah.
as we still have a couple INF projects, we still have the schoolhouse project there.
Yeah.
There's fees with that, and then the only other project I think that was approved was 320 Concord Street. So,
Yes, but we haven't heard anything. That was the
right,
for
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
single families.
and everything else is kind of
40B.
dropped off right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And a quick question, Robin. Once you kind of like net out, once there's a real number plugged in for the retiree, for the retirement health insurance, that cost will probably down to like a retained revenue of just under 300,000. Do we? Typically with the rate increases, have we? Is that where we've been trending for a projected retained revenue, or?
So Weston and Sampson did the projections, and they were supposed to factor in all of the plant upgrades,
Yep.
and those were the figures that Wright Pierce
Okay.
used for this diagram here.
Okay. So
So they
yeah, we're
were
on track.
supposed.
Okay.
We probably have to look more closely at that, but that's the idea.
Okay.
What was the original question? Because I thought I had something else.
No, the retained revenue. Once you net out the operations and expenses for the year, we'll have a surplus or retained revenue of right around $300,000.
Yeah, and does that fund any of those, or is that last year's revenue that funds those capital requests?
That would be last year's, I believe. The retained revenue from the
Right.
prior year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
However,
Okay.
that's built up.
And then, we talked, so we need to start at some point, once you have some of these leftover
Yep.
funding,
Yep.
to start building up the stabilization
Yep.
account.
Yep.
And then eventually that can be used for some projects at the plant.
And what else is not included in here is this year when we raised the rate for the
Yep.
10%.
Yep.
There's a basic user rate. It was $10. That went up to 18. So that
Okay.
extra $8 by 6,000 accounts is what, another
180.
180,000.
Okay, no, that's awesome. Okay. Any questions, Mr. Ryan, on the
No.
budget? We good? This is hugely helpful. Thank you
Yeah,
all.
I appreciate it.
So, David, in your update, we've been to the budget. Any type of miscellaneous?
No, I think we touched base on everything.
Okay. Moving on to Veolia update. Meg?
So the facility last month, we did a total of 75 million gallons, with the daily average flow being 2.424. We had a total rainfall of 6 inches last month. There wasn't too much that ended up going on last month. We processed 363,421 gallons of sludge through our belt filter press, producing 66 wet tons of sludge, which we ended up hauling away. Recently, in the month of January, we ended up replacing 2 of our belts. It's going to be more efficient now, so I'm estimating about 116 wet tons of sludge being removed from this facility, which is really good. At the end of this month.
116?
116. So that's 50 tons more of sludge from last month, and we haven't really done much since the month of pretty much November because of the holidays and everything. We did have our annual generators being serviced out in the station, so those are up to date, and the generator is almost complete, so we're at the plants, and that's pretty much it.
Like in terms of the 2.0 a 4 million gallon day average. December 12th through 13th. Were we were we crazy high or?
It wasn't too high. We
Okay.
were over our
Okay.
limit, but the average was,
Okay.
as long as it doesn't go over 2.5.
Okay. Yep. Okay.
What was it on December 12th and 13th?
I don't know. He's saying because of the rain.
Yeah, but like it averaged out to be under, so
It-
we're
it-
Yeah.
we're
good.
Right.
Perfect.
No violations
Yep.
for the
No,
month
that's
of
great.
December.
Yeah, so we stayed under the 2.5.
That was really, yeah. That was a pretty good rain event too. So,
Mm.
perfect. Anything else? Okay.
That's it.
Thank you. Now, time for future upcoming meetings. You guys probably gonna hate me. So, yeah, I thought we found consensus last month in terms of working around everything, and now I have a scheduled change.
Do you mind if I go grab my phone?
Yeah. No, I don't mind. Sorry. Yeah.
Are you guys thinking one meeting in February?
I'm open to it. I'm relatively open this month. So.
I wouldn't have an issue with one meeting in February.
Okay.
Did-
Can I back up? One small bit, if that's okay. Just in terms of the capital and the budget, Dave.
Mm-hmm.
I believe you're going to capital tomorrow night.
Tomorrow, but like if you guys aren't comfortable for those submissions, I could put it off. I'm only doing the
No, I don't have
I'm
it.
doing the other 5 departments tomorrow, so
Okay.
I just thought it might be easier.
I'll-
And they actually they do it a special day because I'm not available on Thursday, so they did it for a Wednesday for me.
You know, I don't have any issue with any of that.
Okay.
I don't think the board does either. But I just especially with the FinCom. Would it be helpful to have a commissioner just there? Is
Absolutely.
it okay?
Yeah.
When
That
is
happens
the
with some of
FinCom
the
meeting?
other-
When is the FinCom?
It's
Fifth?
I think you mentioned
February
5th,
5th,
so
I
a week
believe. I
from
think I sent you all of
Wednesday.
that. Yeah.
February 5th?
Yeah.
I don't have an issue with attendance. Like I just I think it's helpful to show
Oh yeah.
Oh,
you
you
got a
know,
little camaraderie.
buy-in.
Yeah.
We have a team with
Yeah.
with our new group.
And those are typically, honestly, for the sewer, for FinCom, it's typically pretty easy because
It's enterprise.
you're an enterprise.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? If we're going over there for anything else, I got to grovel. So
I know, but I just think it's helpful. But I just think it's helpful to show
right.
everybody that we have a united front with a great team.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
okay.
Yep.
This is Wednesday the
5th.
Yeah.
That's actually next Wednesday.
The next one, yeah.
I'm just like, because the next month, budget, end of the year budgets, oh my God. I'm not even going home.
You want me to go to that?
I don't have any. I'm free too as well. So
It's up to you.
I mean, we can figure it out. I mean,
If I want to go.
I'll just actually. I'm sorry. I'm all over the place, but just with the budget, the FY 26 budget. Do you need? Does the sewer department have to have any type of vote from the board to submit the budget, or no?
I don't recall us ever doing that.
No, we've
No.
never done that.
Oh, definitely.
No.
I just want to make sure that.
No, I mean, you guys could,
We need it?
you could easily switch
You
it,
could
but
change it.
I
if you wanted to
haven't,
vote on
I
it.
haven't done that.
No, we're not trying to make things.
Yeah, no, I just want to make sure.
I know.
We just want to make sure we're doing
I
things
did-
correctly. That's all.
I
No,
mean, in
no.
the past, I typically would present,
Yeah.
what we have, on both.
It's fine.
And I mean, that, but I mean, it's
We're not
kind
trying
of,
to-
it's kind
We're
it's
not
kinda
trying to
set.
make any more steps. I'm not-
No,
No,
yeah, I agree.
I
Okay.
just put it out there. You guys are the board, so,
I know, we can figure out plan for next Wednesday. I mean,
yeah.
Obviously, we've discussed and went through the budget, so it's fine. Okay.
You kind of already gave your blessing, but
Yeah.
um,
He-
if you want to go further, you always can.
I mean, I'm fine. Like, I mean, I think we have pretty good consensus and agreement on
Agreed.
everything, so that's fine. So thank you for all your work, Robin, on that. Okay, getting back to, like, squirrel, and I go sideways. So,
Is it easier to do it at the end of the month, Mike?
based on
Is it easy for
Megan's
you, Matt?
comments,
I feel like Doug already targeted the 25th of February
yeah, like,
for you guys to review the staff
can't do
recommendations
Tuesdays, that's
and
the
award
only
the
thing.
contract.
So could we? Is there any way we can move, what we're doing now, over the last Tuesday? Is there any way we can move to the last Monday, rather than the last Tuesday? Yeah.
I found that, it's fine.
Megan, you good?
Oh, the last Monday, what date is that?
24th.
Of February?
Yes.
Yeah, last week of February.
I can't go because of the charter review. I only have 5 meetings with charter review. They're every
Yeah.
Monday
Okay.
for 5 weeks.
How about the 26th?
But if it doesn't need to be a problem because I can do the minutes from the tape.
I mean, I don't. Yeah, but do you want, like, I mean, like, you're
You're a key
part of
this.
the
We
team
like
being
you
here.
here.
Okay,
Correct.
I was just
Part of the team.
You trying to get
the
out?
option.
You're one of us now.
But the set.
You want to try to
Okay.
do the Wednesday?
I'm probably
The-
actually-
On the
on-
left?
yeah.
But the
You?
fourth Wednesday I have a conflict.
Wednesday?
Yeah. And the Wednesday before that I have a conflict.
How about Thursday? Or you can't do
Thursday would
Thursdays?
be the 27th.
Yep.
Does someone have a problem with
I don't
Thursdays?
have an issue with
Yeah.
Thursdays.
No, I can,
Oh, you do?
well, no, it's no big deal.
What?
I can amend it and do it Thursday. On Thursday.
I just have a question, Robin.
Huh?
Yeah, like, I just have a question. Like, if we. Oh, yeah, because, like, ideally. I mean, again, I'm not trying to drive the bus here. But ideally, we'd be able to get into a rhythm that I don't have to keep changing every month. If we to have you here for February, we do the 27th. But then after that, with the 5 meetings for charter review, could there be any way that beginning in March, we go to the last Monday?
I don't have a problem with that. My last charter review is March 3rd. They're
Okay.
condensed because we have to get it ahead of the
Okay.
to the BOS
So-
before town meeting.
As I guess for like a new structure that will be final, because I'm not going to change anything else in my life because I've had enough changes. If we do,
The 4th Monday or the last Monday?
Sounds like a third.
I don't know. Like if we do for February, I think we landed on the 27th,
That's Wednesday or Thursday? Thursday.
Thursday.
That's fine.
And then if from March forward, if it's possible to do the 4th Monday,
I'm fine with that.
1, 2, 3, 4, the 24th.
yes. Like, and that will be the new routine.
That's fine.
4th Monday.
Does that work for
Yeah,
everybody?
the only
works
problem
for me.
with Mondays is holidays.
Oh,
But
yeah.
we'll adjust that as,
Yeah.
As
you
needed.
know, I mean, trying to think of any late, really Monday holidays.
May.
More or
On
less.
Memorial Day.
That's, yeah, I mean, right there, it's not like what I think of.
Yeah, we can triage
Yeah,
it.
Memorial
Yeah,
Day
come
is
in on Memorial
the
Day,
4th
yeah.
Monday.
What's that?
Yeah, everybody could come in on Memorial Day.
Why not?
Can I still zoom in?
Could do it on Cinco de Mayo.
Big,
You could be like Town Hall and have the meeting on Tuesday, the long day.
Yeah.
They have it always the Tuesday after a holiday. It seems like
Yeah,
they're
like,
open.
like in Tuesday is going to become my long day. in a
It's
few
gonna be
weeks.
what day?
It's going to become my long day, which is why I have a conflict on Tuesday in a few
Yeah.
weeks. So
Okay.
So,
So in May we'll have to just revisit the date.
Yeah.
yeah, we'll
that's
just,
fine.
we'll,
Okay.
that one.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal.
okay, that good for everybody?
Yeah.
Anything else?
Who's going to FinCom? Did we decide David and who?
Yeah, I'll go. I don't.
You know,
Yeah,
Michael,
is that right?
Well, Mike?
Because
Yeah, I'll go.
it's February 5th, so it's
Yeah.
coming up quick.
Yeah, I'll go. What time do they meet? 7? 6?
Yeah, I think it's 7, and then we have park, rec, and then wherein after that.
Okay. Oh, that'll be after bedtime. This is how I live my life. Okay. Perfect.
Yours or the kids?
I don't know. Yeah. Okay. Nothing else. The time is now 7:29. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All those in favor? Oh, I mean, I'll second. All those in favor?
Aye.